This is an open letter to President Trump. Hello, sir. How are you? Hope everything is good. Uh, Bravo on your election win. Here's the thing, and bravo on trying to, stop the bloodshed. Thank you. Salute. However, sir, if you see yourself as a dawn, what follows the dawn around is broken kneecaps and bloodshed. So, you can see yourself maybe as not the dawn, but the peacemaker, the Jesus. What would Jesus do? It would, if I say that, doesn't really apply. I have interaction with only a few people a day. I can affect only a few lives. So, if I feel like Jesus, it doesn't count. Because not many lives I can affect, for better or worse. But you are in a position that you can affect a lot of lives. So if you act like a Jesus, it would be, something to admire. So if I say what would Jesus do, it really doesn't matter. But if you say what would Jesus do in my position, that would really matter. Why I'm saying this, sir? I'm saying this to attract your attention to a concept called free will. Free will. And you like to use this a lot in the Western system. Intellectually, as well as, judicially, as well as legislatively, as well as everything else. You come to executively, you say people have free will, and if they make the decisions that I don't like, or doesn't agree with me, or I'm not a fan of those decisions, then I have the right to punish them because they have chose out of free will to do something. I'm here to tell you that to state my opinion. I may be wrong, I'm often wrong, so I'm not taking any responsibility in that sense. But I thought I'd try to give you another perspective onto free will. And you can't really, what I'm trying to say is, I don't think there is free will, because you're born where you're born, in the environment that you were born in. You had no hand in that. And whatever there is an input in your brain, it has come from your own environment. If Donald Trump was born in Istanbul, in Turkey, or as they like to call themselves, Türkiye, if Donald Trump was born in the body of a kid in Türkiye, with that condition that he was born in, it would be a totally different person. At this point, I'm imagining there is a soul involved here. If the consciousness of Donald Trump had ended up in the body of some guy from Istanbul, Syria, or Palestine, if your soul was born in a body in Palestine, you couldn't help it. You see what I'm saying? And all the condition that goes with that point that you existed throughout most of your life, or that environment, family, extended family environment that you existed for most of your life, that is what makes you who you are, and what perspective, more or less, you have in life. That's nowhere near free will. You have no free will. what I'm trying to refer to here as this leader, this student group leader. He was older in the college. He was Palestinian. This guy that you have, locked up, and you're going to make an example of the motherfucker. I'm not sure why brown people have to be made examples of so often. You made an example out of Saddam Hussein, as in like to all the leaders in the Middle East. If you don't do exactly as we say, we are going to come there and hang you. Saddam Hussein was an example set for the brown people of Middle East. Forgive me, sir, but you're not the first Don in the White House. And most of the people who ended up in White House, they were all Dons. They were all kind of a, rough and tough leader of the pack. Maybe the pack does some legal shit, does some illegal shit, and then an illegal pack gets married into a legal pack, and all their sins are forgiven. So all the for example, I understand that the wealth of McCain family has come from, for example, booze running from Mexico into Arizona during the time of Prohibition, and the way they wash their sins is by intermarrying to a very prominent war hero, POW. So you are born, but what I'm trying to say, sir, is that there is no free will. This guy is an older student in the university, which a lot of, he was a PhD student, I believe, and a lot of other younger students looked up to him, and now you're trying to set an example of him to, make sure everybody gets the message that your policy has to match your foreign policy. Everybody over here, all you intellectuals or those who think you're intellectuals, forget about the common man. We control them through our media, but you motherfuckers understand that your policies should be the official. You should follow the official foreign policy of Uncle Sam's managers, who keep on changing their foreign policies. So, the winners are the quiet ones. Don't speak politics, don't talk politics. Those are the real winners. This is what I'm trying to say. Let me give you see how wrong-headed this is. The guy you're persecuting, whichever one you're doing, is a PhD student, as in like his brain really works, right? You know who you're not bothering? That Palestinian singer DJ Khaled. He was pretending that he's hard of hearing and not see and not hear, see no evil, hear no evil. He's the embodiment of that, sort of like, hey, I'm fat and happy, I was lucky, fuck the rest of you motherfucker, you weren't as lucky as I was. And he's not saying, so this is a guy who lacks both brains and compassion. So that attitude, a person who lacks brain and compassion is left alone. You're saying that no, that attitude we accept. You should not have he's a rapper, he's not a brainiac. No offense, but if he could have been a PhD candidate or a doctor, he probably would have. But that part of that aptitude he doesn't have. Again, it's not free will. He has the aptitude to sing and has got a rhythm. But he doesn't have geopolitical aptitude. He doesn't have, apparently doesn't have much compassion for his fellow man. So he's quiet, and you're rewarding his quietness. Shh. Watch, don't talk. Again, this goes back to Mr. Biden was the same way. Watch, don't talk. Exactly when Mrs. Harris says, somebody was protesting about these brown people dying, and Mrs. Harris just said, I'm speaking. It's like, you watch, you don't speak. I'm sorry, forgive me. Your democracies, what the form of government that you consider democracy, always ends up in this. Always more or less ends up in shambles in which, the first deal, the Constitution, was basically interpreted differently. Let's put it this way. Salute. And as the time goes by, the Constitution gets interpreted more and more. They reinterpret the interpretations, and suddenly Guantanamo becomes acceptable. Sort of like, oh no, the law that we have over here, it only applies to this geographic part, but not that geographic part. We put a jail there and we habeas corpus my ass. We lock people up and we throw away the key. Again, Magna Carta was written for the white man. Now, the rest of the world somehow trying to have to earn their Magna Carta from you. The rest, here is the thing, sir. First of all, it's obvious. You're rewarding the guy who's not really good at thinking. You're rewarding the guy who's not really good at thinking, or is not a real thinker, and for that you reward him by leaving him alone, like DJ Khaled. But then this guy who has a brain, he had a brain to reach PhD. He apparently has there is something going on up there. This is the guy you should reward, and don't mind that he's speaking on defense of some brown people in Asia. Why? Because he doesn't have free will. He is a man with a little brain, which we already established, from West Asia, where there are cousins there, and he's speaking up. That's not a free will. He cannot not speak up unless he's dumb. If he's dumb, he wouldn't speak up, because dumb people really don't get what's going on. They don't get it, they can't analyze it, so they leave it alone. But you want a collection of those people? You want to kick out the brainy ones? Let's kick out the brainy ones who could be a philosopher here, but let's kick him out and have him shot in Syria. Are you serving humanity, sir? This is what would Jesus do? No, let's be frank. Please be if you want to become Saint Trump, well, you have to do what Jesus would do. Jesus would say, oh no, we are not going to waste this guy with a brain. Yes, he opposes our policies. Let's talk about it. Let's see if our policies are policies that would cause the length of the empire, or would it have our policies been the kind of policies that shortens the life of an empire? Nobody has a problem with an empire, but an empire which is giving, not taking. You can have a whole, look at China. You can have people going and building dams for other people, like China has been doing, then going and blowing up the dams that the fucking retarded locals after many years were able to build. Let's be frank, until you were in Vietnam, but Vietnam was shit. Apparently now Vietnam is doing very well. Thank you to China. Thanks to China. You don't. The places you step in don't end up well, looking well. You see what I'm saying? Wherever you're not is looking well. When you step in, it looks very unwell. A lot of destroyed buildings. You don't. I'm from outer space. From where I'm sitting, it seems wherever you go in, everything gets intermingled. You got involved in Ukraine, you tried to push your NATO into Ukraine, and Ukraine got mingled. Millions of people are dead. And the rest have become nomads. Are you serious? And you're telling me anybody who protests the Ukraine war, they're also criminals? They protest because nobody's. Here's what protest is, Mr. Trump. Sir, dear sir. Here's what protest is. I tell you that let's speak about this and let's reason about this, and let's do the reason of whichever one of us can bring better reasons. Let's debate the idea of why NATO expansion into Ukraine. What I'm trying to say is, did Ukrainians have trouble sleeping at night knowing that they are not in NATO? No, nobody in Ukraine was losing sleep at night that, why aren't we part of NATO? Until you went and you offered partnership in NATO, and a few stupid people in charge decided that your offer is good. Yes, let's kill a couple of million people. Hopefully we join. Hopefully I can go and, become a Merrill Lynch partner. Salute. So my point is this, sir. There are pictures and videos of wherever, covertly, or you go in and you say it's for defense of freedom. Freedom of what? Freedom of a bunch of Polish, Hungarian, Russian, and Brooklynites in Israel. Let's defend and arm to the teeth a bunch of Polish, Hungarian, Brooklynite, German, Russians who just happen to, be of a specific religion, Jewish religion, but, even if they're secular, even if they were born or they associate or whatever, they can go over there and start claiming some land from the brown people, brown natives. The idea is a nutty idea. That it's a good idea. Would you accept, as Uncle Sam's manager, imagine India sends a group of Indians, not as a spread across the land, but all Indians. Imagine all Indians gather in North Carolina and declare North Carolina independent in association with India. And imagine India starts supporting these Indians who have declared the independence in North Carolina. Imagine India starts supplying these Indians with arms. Imagine Indians from all over the United States go to North Carolina and declare North Carolina independent, like Israel declares independence. Some people from around the world come, some people from somewhere else come and declare independence just out of the blue. And then if the rest of America says, no, North Carolina, you cannot be independent, doesn't work like that, then you watch as India, the country of India, starts supplying these North Carolina Indians with arms so they can fight for their freedom. Imagine. they say that we are going to supply these Indians in North Carolina with arms so they can fight for their freedom to be independent. What would you say? What the reaction would be? I mean, every time black people got together, tried to do something like this, you burned it down. That was a, officially sanctioned reaction. It just doesn't, these things don't just happen. Because, no, we have two races, black and white, and we need them to be mixed. We can't have a suddenly a couple of black cities in one state, and suddenly the state wants to declare independence. No, fuck you. Spread all over, be minorities everywhere. Again, this goes back to nobody gets to choose, sir, what color they're born, what part of the world they're born. Nobody gets the choice. And if you're born somewhere that currently in your timeline, if you're born somewhere where there is, people have more advanced arms, more advanced weapons, in that timeline, some time ago, someplace else in the world had the most sophisticated weapons. And this idea that you keep going and using these sophisticated weapons on a bunch of fucking nomads in the middle of nowhere, Syria, just because there is some profits to be made from the Syrian oil. So we're going to go over there with my very sophisticated weapons, just do one of these whack-a-mole jobs, some whack-a-mole in the Middle East, because they are the mole and we are the whack, and we got a big whack. This is not, galactically looking at it, it's not good, doesn't look good. Just like it doesn't look good if you go right now, take your tanks to the jungles of Amazon looking for those last untouched tribes to find them and show them who's the boss. I mean, that's the whole idea behind Venezuela, right? You take Venezuela just a step further. Why not take some, Sherman tanks and go and find and eliminate those last tribes, untouched tribes left in the middle of Amazon? It's a silly idea. It's the same about if those poor bastards, retarded bastards, are in Syria or in Libya or in Iraq or in Afghanistan or in Iran. They're retarded. They're living their retarded life. Just because you got a big whack, that doesn't mean you should go and smash the moles. They're moles. We can't go worse than this, right? They're animals. But it doesn't make you much of a human if you do whack-a-mole job, because that's what animals do to each other. The eagle not really whacks the mole in order to eat it. That's what happens naturally in the wild. If you think of it galactically, for the rest of galaxy to consider you advanced, you should show them that you have moved away from those animal tendency, which domination is one of the main ones. Domination and lack of compassion. Just whack them all and eat it. Whack them all and eat it. That's the lack of compassion that is available in animals. And this is the thing. These guys are doing something really nasty over there to the natives. These European guys, which you provide very sophisticated weapons to them in Israel, and they use these weapons to whack the moles in West Asia. For what purpose? Domination? You want to show your domination to the backward tribes of Amazon as well? What is the point? Do you see how cringeworthy is if leaders in the West continue insisting that they need to have domination over the animals over there? And NATO is basically a dominating organization. It's an organization which says we dominate because we got bigger weapons, and we have to go and continuously show put the natives in their place over there. Let's go to Amazon and kick some ass. Kick some Indian ass in Amazon. Let's go kick some towelhead ass in Syria, and they have to be under our control. And okay, you control them. Okay, you make a few more bucks. Okay. Is all of this to prove that you're better than them because you have become richer? Well, you give me a brass knuckle and I can go become rich tonight. But that doesn't mean I'm doing very intelligent things. If you go and become rich by the way of brass knuckle, that doesn't show intelligence. That just shows brutality. If you want to be considered in the galactic environment as an intelligent race, you have to show intelligence, not brutality. If you want to be considered as intelligent enough to associate with galactically, they have to see some intelligence from you, not brutality. Brutality they have seen. You're still continuing. What Israel is doing is not intelligent, it's brutal. You're trying to continuously, you still haven't stopped trying to solve problems in a brutal way. Not an intelligent way, a brutal way. Intelligent way is you have a lot of shit back home, start developing your own land and let them worry about their shit. Stop selling so much weapons and stop having your economy be so dependent on weapons. So much of your senators are elected and they have to toe the line because a lot of their economy is dependent on weapons manufacturing. Not dams, not schools. We are very apt at weapons manufacturing, and then we put these brass knuckles on and we go show our brutality in the Middle East. In these backward shitholes of the world, we show them who's the boss. Up next, Venezuela. Sir, if you declare them less intelligent than you, they're terrorists, right? Only crazy, unintelligent people become terrorists, right? I agree. But if you go after them with brutality, not with logic, not with saying, oh no, maybe they're right, maybe this is their land, we go do our shit back home, we make great things back home, and we mind our own business, but we build great things back home, schools and churches and factories. We don't sell weapons to these shitheads, but we will try to bring them together, just because we are so intelligent that we bring even what your State Department did under for the past 30, 40 years has been going around trying to inflame the locals. Your whole foreign policy, the whole national policy of Uncle Sam's managers is to go and inflame the locals. Instead of bringing Taiwan and China together, you're insisting that Taiwan should be independent. Why? You care so much for Chinese pussy or Taiwanese pussy? I mean, what does their independence has anything to do with you? And you are forcefully trying to go unbalanced. There is a balance of power. There is a big dick like China, and then there are smaller dicks, and as long as this balance of power is recognized, everything is fine. But when you go and inflate Philippines, you go and inflate them artificially by giving them weapons, you're trying to imbalance the balance. Hey, China doesn't want to own Philippines because Philippines has too many people and too few resources. There's no winning Philippines. So, but you go and inflate Philippines to insist on their independence, insist on their animosity towards China. So, the owner of an intelligent empire would encourage other countries to come to some sort of agreement, not fund their disagreement, not fund their wars. Yes, you have got it right. In case of Ukraine, you got it right that if this is your intention, I may be wrong, I'm often wrong, but your intention is a bad idea. War is a bad idea. Well, everywhere that's the case. So in case of Israel, the only thing to do with Israel is to say, hey, one man, one vote, anybody can go anywhere they want to live if they can afford to live there. And yes, some of the lands has to be returned back to these poor bastards, anybody who can provide some kind of proof that they own the land. And then if they want to sell it and move out, if they want to live there. One man, one vote, and no gated community of white people in West Asia. That should be that's a sane policy. That's a smart policy. That's a policy that people, galactic people would consider that as an intelligent policy, not this brutality business. They look at your brutality and they're like, are you kidding me? There is a smart choice and then there is the bad choice enforced by brutal force. A bad choice. Israel is a bad choice. Israel in general, this idea of a colonialist whites only state of Israel or Ashkenazi only state of Israel, this is a bad choice. Well, you know how it's bad choice? Because its existence depends on implementation of force, because the locals don't want it. The locals are okay with an integrated society. The Europeans are not okay with an integrated society. You're literally, they are one step behind you in terms of that, those things that happened in the South, in the United States, that eventually forced desegregation. That still has to happen in Israel. But you do understand that the smart decision is, you see, the arc of the truth is long, but it bends towards justice. What is justice? Justice is the logical solution. What is the logical solution? Logical solution is, don't try to force brown people out of West Asia, because brown people are native to West Asia. White people can come and go come and pay their respects to the wall and go home. This is what Jewish people can do. Live in Brooklyn and once a year for a month go to Israel and pay your respects to the wall and have a good time and return back to Brooklyn. This is what Ashkenazis should do. Just visit it as a tourist. But as in, like, I have to go live there in a gated community of whites only. And if they come and if it becomes clear that they are either not Jewish or not white, they are under suspicion. I might actually shoot them and then ask questions later. As has been many instances in which Israelis have killed their brown Jewish people because they mistaken them for the locals. Sort of like, oh, my bad, he was a brown Jew. We have so few of them and they're so closely resemble the locals, so I mistook them for a local. Sorry. Are you kidding me? This is a purely racial state in West Asia, a segregated racial state in West Asia, in which the European settlers don't want to mix with the natives. Are you serious? And you support this. Exactly like Indians, a bunch of Indians declaring North Carolina independent, and then India starts supporting them militarily. What would you say? It's like, are you kidding me? This is not logical, sir. If it's not logical, you have to make a smart decision. So maybe at one point the rest of the galaxy considers knocking on the door, as long as there is bloodshed inside the house. Imagine this, sir. The aliens are standing behind your door and they're hearing that it seems there is a bloodshed inside the house. That would be Earth. Aliens are sitting out there watching us and they see there is bloodshed over there. They're killing each other. Would you want to knock on a fucking door when you know there is killing going on inside? I wouldn't. If I go to a door for some reason that, I need something or whatever, if I approach a door and hear kicking and screaming inside and shots being fired, I would not knock on that door. I would backtrack, go, reach the end of the street, and then call 911. Sort of like, I don't want to get involved, I don't want to be shot at, but I know there is something bad going. This is a situation with aliens. That they're watching inside the house, on Earth, the smart countries, that would be you guys, are going and creating these conflicts that you should be actually solving, creating these conflicts around the planet in order to make a little more money, claim a little more land, couple of more casinos. I mean, you guys know you're all mortal, right? Salute. We are all mortal. So this idea that, this insistence on proving something. Look at me, look at my power, look at my brutality. But how about look at me, look at my intelligence, look how I actually start attending to my own citizens, taking care of them, and set an example in that way for the rest of the world, the rest of the planet, as to see how well you can take care of your citizens instead of how big my weapons are? Please, Mr. Trump, you're the one who matters if you say what Jesus would do. You're the one who matters. If I say what would Jesus do daily to me, myself, I don't affect many lives. I don't have absolutely zero effect on most of my environment. But if you say and really think that what would Jesus do, Jesus would make his own house very well. Not at the expense of others, but self-reliance. You have the resources, you have the people, you have the brains to build your shit really well, to build your cities really well. And if Taiwan wants to, come and ask you to somehow bring it to some kind of agreement with China to become a 51st state of China, you should actually, encourage it. So sort of like, yeah. And if Filipino doesn't think Filipino has a big penis, Filipino would not be getting in any argument with China. They would respect that the Chinese have got the bigger dick, and they would mind their own business and try to work with China instead of, confront China. Also try to logically deal with China, not confront China. But this is short-sighted, this is crazy, this is sinful. This idea of that, no, we're going to inflate these small countries and fund their war against the bigger country next to them, like Ukraine. It's crazy. It just, I don't know what, I'm sorry I'm saying this, but I don't know I could be wrong, and I'm sorry I'm saying it like this, but you can't explain it in any other way. A guy sitting in outer space and looking at Earth and watching your policies, and they conclude that no, these people are not using any of their smarts. All they want to use, it seems, is their brutality. The smart thing is to be, thankful for what you have. A smart thing would be to be modest. A smart thing it would be to be self-reliant. And the smart thing, then the compassionate thing, is to be the peacemakers. Actually, don't export weapons. Just, peacemakers don't export weapons. Why? Because exporting weapons, you're trying to imbalance a balance that should exist. Egypt is 10 times the population of Israel. Egypt should be the dominant piece on the board in the Middle East. But artificially, by inflating Israel, you're forcing Israel to be dominant over the whole Middle East. And whenever Israel can't swing it on their own, they bring Uncle Sam in for help. You can do that, but it's not a smart thing to do. These policies that you have been following of brutally enforcing a whites-only colony in West Asia. Brutally enforcing this. It's not a smart thing, it's the brutal thing. A smart policy is like, okay, if white people also want to go live there, they can go live there. But no, they have to mingle within local population, and the local population is probably have got the numbers. So therefore the local government are going to be mostly run by the Arabs. That's a smart thing. Or yeah, many white people go and live in Thailand, but they know they can't declare any parts of Thailand as independent white nation again, because they've been through that once before. Now the Thai people are watching white people, making sure they don't come to stay for long. This is the thing. White people have become known for, when they come, they won't leave. Don't allow the white people to come in large numbers because they suddenly declare independence in your land. They arrive and they get together and suddenly they declare independence, and then they start killing the locals. Exactly what happened with regards to the Redskins of Americas. White people came in, they got together, they declared independence, and then they started killing the natives. Over misunderstandings. The misunderstanding was white people believed that, God gave them this land or that land, and it was preordained. No, these are stories, sir, that you tell yourself in order to justify your short-sighted, brutal quest for wealth. Short-sighted, brutal quest for wealth. I guess that's, if I had to describe Israel, I would say it's a short-sighted quest for accumulation of wealth. On both sides of the Atlantic, both the British are guilty, the French are guilty, the Germans are guilty, Uncle Sam's, and basically these NATO countries, these white European countries, dominant countries in Europe and North America, who have got together and have created the best weapons and the best brass knuckles, and have been going after Asia and Africa and South America and forever. And now, they just went after Russia. That's also Asia. You see that? You see the thing? What I'm saying, sir? It may be profitable, but it's not smart. What I'm trying to say, sir. It may be profitable short term, but it makes the empire's long-term prospects questionable, because a brutal empire is a short-lived empire. Just like, a brutal father eventually is going to encourage the children to revolt. Just like a brutal boss eventually causes the managers to revolt, the workers to revolt. And it does happen. It's just, it takes time. It may take time, but it does happen. So the solution is not to be a brutal boss, but to be and I'm trying to be the saint, not the don. To think logically, be modest, and keep telling yourself, what would the real Jesus, not Joel Osteen Jesus, no, the real Jesus, the guy who was a carpenter and who was okay with a piece of bread for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That modest guy. Poor, modest, out of choice.
Tired of hearing
you should be the one. It matters if you tell yourself that what would Jesus, the carpenter, the friend of the beggar, and the shoulder for the prostitute, what would that Jesus do? Shoulder to cry out for the prostitute. What would that Jesus do? That Jesus would do the very smart thing. Turn inward. Attend to your citizens very well. Education, infrastructure, housing, food. And just ask the rest of the world to try to live well with each other. You should bring Germany and Russia back together. The past stupid administrations for the past 20-30 years were stupid enough to try to divide Germans and the Russians and Europeans and the Russians. Just out of, I guess, a short-term solution in the quest for more wealth. Why not do what would Jesus do and say, no, we are going to attend to our citizens from now on, and we suggest the rest of you live well together, and we are going to make ourselves strong, but we are not going to put any bases anywhere outside of our land. We are not going to, but if you want us to, provide a table for you to talk, we will provide the table. And we will sit at the table. And we bring intelligent intellectuals to make the same decisions at the table. But this is the solution. The same solution, for example, for Palestine is integration. And integration, if you have such a mixed population, integration is the only solution. If the white people from Europe and North America don't like it, they can go back home and visit once a year as a vacation. If they really detest, here's the point, sir. If the white people from Europe, the Ashkenazi, the Jewish folks, the Jewish Ashkenazi from Europe and North America, if they so dislike living between Arabs, well, they shouldn't be living between Arabs in because West Asia is Arab land. If they detest Arabs, maybe they should not live between Arabs. If they don't like integrating with the Arabs, maybe they should move back to Hungary, Poland, and New York. That's the same decision. And no, being DJ Khaled and not realizing this simple fact, or not caring to express this simple fact from their perspective, that doesn't make DJ Khaled a better person or more valuable than this PhD student that you have incarcerated. As a society, you're forcing out the intelligent, and you are honoring the ones who pretend they are deaf and dumb and blind. It's like, if you're Helen Keller, we applaud you. If you say you have no interest in politics and no interest in the environment around you and no interest in intelligent decisions and no interest, if you're saying that, you're actually hoping that you're the ruler of a bunch of Helen Kellers. You know what's the other option, sir? The other option is to invite this PhD student to the White House, sit down, maybe you and Elon Musk sit down on one side of the table and have this PhD student that you have incarcerated, who's apparently a Palestinian who have organized some protests in Columbia University. You should bring him to the White House, sit on the one side of the table, and you and Elon Musk sit on the other side of the table, and see who wins a debate. Literally debate each other in front of live TV, and have, just like you have American Idol, why don't you run your politics based on American Idol? Both sides are free to debate their point and have your people dial in who they think won the debate. That's one solution. You see what I'm saying? It's sort of like, but that's the thing. The reason they protest is because you don't debate them, and you really don't want to abide by the conclusion of the debate. You really don't want to abide by a logical conclusion of the debate. Therefore, you don't want to debate these people to come to a better solution. You want to continue with your brutal solution to enforce a crazy idea, and they protest exactly because you don't want to debate them. And do the smart action. Do the action that the best debate wins, which people really recognize that this person made a more logical point than that person. You don't want people to hear that. You don't want to abide by the more logical perspective that comes out from a debate. You don't want to abide by that. This is not a smart way to run a society. This is not a smart way to run politics. If if the rest of the intelligence out there has, what would want to contact you, they would want to see intelligence, not brutality. They want you guys to go turn a little inward and mind your own business and improve your own culture instead of worrying about other people's culture. And this is what I don't get with regards to these progressives. Sort of like John Stewart thinks that bringing democracy to the tribes of Amazon is worth fighting them. Or, maybe it doesn't, but the point is, these progressive things, whatever it's their mentality, should be everybody's mentality, because it's obviously the right mentality, because it's my mentality. That's the argument with the best penis. The best penis argument is my penis. And again, you can do that. You can continue pretending that your penis is the best penis, but eventually you have to do the right thing, not the brutal thing, for things to become stable. The right thing is allowing the natural order of the things to form in East Asia, and that would be everybody agreeing that China is the big dick and everybody else minding their own business and trying to cooperate with China. That's the natural order of things. The natural order of things is not that Philippines can fight China, should fight China, should stand up to China. That's not a smart thing. That's a brutal way of looking at the world. Trying to persuade a small person that they should go and fight the nightclub owner. It's mean and stupid. The foreign policy that has been advocated by especially the British is mean and stupid. Not only it's mean, it's just stupid. It just keeps sending the planet backwards. The whole Iraq war sent the whole planet backwards. How many old structures were destroyed in Iraq? Instead of being honored and respected and be advertised in tourism brochures. No, let's destroy it. Fallujah. We are bringing freedom. Sir, to be considered as intelligent on Earth, you humans have to actually behave intelligently. Look for an intelligent solution, not the brutal solution. Intelligent solution for Ukraine is for Russia to have influence in Ukraine, because Ukraine is a neighbor, and Ukraine should be happy to have Russia look over their shoulder as a powerful neighbor who looks after their interests. That should be the relationship between Ukraine and Russia. A powerful neighbor that looks after the interests of Ukraine. That's naturally should be the relationship. Because they like Ukrainians. They could have until, some Ukrainian crazies got funded by people in Washington D.C. so they can try to change the natural order of things. Go fight, start killing Russians, so in order to provoke Russia into attacking, start killing Russians in Ukraine in order to provoke Russia to attack, because now you want to join NATO. You have so many, imagine a country with so many Russians in it, and then United States saying that Russia cannot join NATO but Ukraine can. Well, half of Ukrainians are Russians. I mean, you're forcing divisions, literally forcing the division within the same country. It started with a civil war that then became an international war. Why? Because you funded a very crazy idea over there, the neo-Nazis in Ukraine. You funded them. When you fund the crazies come on top, because and please don't tell me any of this is free will. And the solution to Israel is integration. Integration with the local people and have some governments, and it's going to probably be an Arab government, but what do you expect? You're living on Arabian Peninsula. You're going to have an Arab government. That area is part of Arabian Peninsula. The dominant language should not be, a language that you pulled out of Hebrew, pulled out of an old book. Most of the Ashkenazis speak Yiddish. Used to speak Yiddish. Then they learn Hebrew from the book, but they're not really Palestinian, they're not Semites, we all know that. Again, the facts eventually are going to come out, and the logical decision eventually is going to prevail. The smart decisions eventually is going to prevail. But you don't have to try all the wrong answers until you reach the right answer. The smart decision is to point at the right answer right away and not try all the wrong answers. You tried brutally enforcing a segregated society on Arabian Peninsula for 75 years. You think it's just about time to give up on this idea and say, no, maybe segregation is not the right idea here. Maybe it should be desegregated. And yes, the Ashkenazis are going to be in a minority. They can go home back to Europe, or they can stay as a minority. But with brutally treating the Palestinians overseas, in Palestine brutally, and then treating Palestinians and probably all brown people in North America brutally, is not the solution. This aliens out there are not really encouraged to knock on the door to associate themselves with your planet if they see so much brutality happening on your planet. mostly conducted by your weapons, the weapons specifically produced by Uncle Sam. Most of the brutality in the world, Uncle Sam is the biggest exporter of arms. So most of the brutality in your world is being enforced by your weapons. You can be smart and intelligent instead of brutal. You can be smart and modest and mind your own business instead of trying to show the natives what's what for the purpose of building more wealth. It's not very smart. The intelligence in outer space doesn't want to, contact any race that is associated with so much brutality. And you, the British, the French, and the Germans have been the cause of a lot of this brutality recently on Earth. Why don't you set an example? Do what Jesus would do. Real Jesus. The carpenter.